Hello, nurses and friends of nurses. Yakko Warner here, and you're listening to a podcast on the Geekcast Radio Network. Lucky you.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Cinema Geeks. I am one of your Cinema Geeks, Optimus Solo, and joining me today for this week's episode is Hard Candy Mandy. Hello.
Oh, hey, you got my name right this time, sir.
I almost didn't. I was struggling. I was like slow motion. I was like watching. It was like you could like take yourself out of your body and watch yourself saying the words. I was like, say
You
it
just had
right.
an out-of-body experience, my friend.
That's how we're starting today. Also with us is Movie Revolt Dan. Hello, Dan.
How's it going?
See, his name's so easy. Just one syllable. I don't have to think about I's and not Y's and all that other kind of stuff. It's just...
Come on now.
And also, Matt Fridley sent. Good day, sir.
Hi.
Hello. And
I'm going to apologize because I'm a little sick.
Well, now everybody's going to know. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, so the way my voice cracked on that, I'm sure everybody knude.
Nude.
They nuded it.
We're all nude. No. All right, so...
That escalated quickly.
All right, and today we are bringing you another one of our series of episodes, not the video game series and not the Hayao Miyazaki. We're going back to our top 100 films of all time. Yep, the project we started back on episode 100. We're making our way this time on the other side of the 50 mark. So this is going to be the first episode where we're getting into our top 50 films. Dan, how are you looking here going into today's episode? Is there anything you want to bring up, any caveats, themes, or anything that represents this chunk of the list for you?
Actually, looking at this chunk, it's pretty straightforward film for the most part. Probably like a lot of actually big blockbuster movies I'll be talking about, some really heavy hitters. I don't know why, it just seem to be like loaded in this section, which is quite interesting, so we'll get to that in a bit.
I didn't realize going into this, I was looking at my list real quick last night in preparation for the record today, and I didn't realize that in my top 50 I hadn't ordered them yet. I just had them in chunks of 10. So that meant last night I had to try to like actually separate these 10 and put them in some type of order, and that's getting more excruciatingly painful with each group of 10. Like, it's just harder and harder to try to separate some of these films for me. I think if anything for my theme, I guess, for this chunk of 10, it's going to start to reveal the types of films that I really go for, and it's going to kind of show you maybe that for some reason I'm a sucker for depressing films, so I'm going to have some of those in today's countdown. But other than that, I couldn't really come up with any theme for myself. Matt, looking at your chunk that's going to be revealed today, anything going for you?
Honestly, a lot of them are movies that I saw for the first time recently. Like, over half of them are movies that I probably watched for the very first time in the last 5 years, which is really high for new movies. But I also don't really feel like I can debate a lot of them against it.
All right, fair enough. Amanda, what do you got to say about the chunk of films that you're going to be releasing or revealing today?
I'm going to say this chunk of the list is pretty revealing as to my taste, and it's definitely going to show my love for Bruce Willis.
I was going to say, we've already been made known of your love for 90s films.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be in here. But I will break to the 2000s.
What?
Once.
What?
But definitely going to see some Bruce Willis joints up in here.
All right. And just to get a little bit of business out of the way, we've started with Matt. I think every one of these that we've done, we're going to have to flip that today. And we're going to start with Amanda because unbeknownst to, I think, any of us, Amanda didn't reveal 10 in our last episode.
Y'all motherfuckers skipped me and made me feel like I was the one that jacked up my numbering, Kevin. When really I got skipped, and that's why I was confused.
I can explain. All right.
Let me explain.
What had happened was...
Let me explain. No, there is too much. Let me sum up.
Matt, on his number 53, revealed that his pick was Toy Story. All right? Which led you to tell us a horrific story about your experience with Toy Story in an amusement park or something of that nature. And then in my attempts to get as far away from that discussion as I possibly could, I jumped right into my 53, not ever letting you reveal your number 53.
So it is your fault.
It is 100% my fault.
And then you made me seem like I was the idiot because I was like, number what?
Well, you did try to scar us with that story.
I am scarred. I needed to share that with you guys. I thought this was like a circle of trust, and you guys were going to help me through this.
So technically you revealed your 53 and your 52 spot and so on, so you never got to reveal your 51. So we have one film left on the other side of the top 50 before we can actually get into our top 50. So why don't you go ahead and get that one piece of business out of the way.
I can hear the guys at True Bromance heckling me from here, and they haven't even listened to this yet. Okay, so I'm seeing into the future and knowing that if they listen to this, I'm going to get some hate for it, and that's okay, because I absolutely love this movie from 1998, Little Sandy Beach Joint, Practical Magic. Sandra Bullock, freaking Nicole Kidman, super cool story. I love the premise. It was so fun, but it also had like some heartbreak in it. Like it wasn't just goofiness and weird magic and shit. Like there was some cool stuff in here. It scared me, it wowed me, and it touched my heart.
I'm gonna let this one slide because it's got like the trifecta for you. It came out in the 90s. It's somewhat of a supernatural / horror elements to it, and it's got Sandra Bullock in it.
Yeah.
So I'll let that slide.
It's not horror, but it's a little scary.
Supernatural, whatever you want to call it. So, yeah. I mean, it's hitting 3 of your marks. Like, the only other thing, I don't even know what the other thing would be.
Maybe I don't even know yet.
So, Practical Magic is the one that we accidentally skipped over from last episode. From here on out, though, everything will be in our top 50. So, Matt, back to you then to actually officially start the top 50 segment of our countdown. What do you have at number 50?
Oh, my number 50 is kind of contentious to me because when I watched it, I hated it. And I haven't gone back to rewatch it. It's just the longer I mull over it, the more I realize that I hated the characters, but the movie was amazing. And that's There Will Be Blood.
Interesting.
It's such a good movie. I don't know. It's kind of like
Did we watch this together?
No, they watched it downstairs though.
I was gonna say I watched it in your house without you.
Oh, I think I had watched it with Nate prior. And
yeah, like
showed it to you.
You watched it with Nate like 2 weeks before, and he went batty for it, and so he had to show all of his friends, and so he made a little party in the basement, and we all watched it, and one of the most hotly discussed movies I've ever seen in my group, because it became almost like a political debate where we all took sides and we were like yelling like, no, this is terrible, these characters are terrible, and there's nothing enjoyable here, and I don't know that I could ever rewatch it, especially not so soon, because it's draining. It's just like Old Boy. It's just, like anything that's got those elements that are just like really, really dramatic or really thrillery, those really drain me quick. And so like this is such an intense movie. It's so hardcore, but it's really well acted. It's really well shot. It's really well done. And though I don't know that I like any of the characters, that doesn't mean I don't like the movie.
Amanda?
I fucking hated that movie. Like, I hated that guy, how he treated his
You hated the movie, or you just hated the people in it?
I couldn't even get through it because it felt so long. It was so drawn out. I hated how mean some of the characters were and how awful these people were being, and how bad I felt for them just dragged me down. Like, I tried 2 times to get through it, and I couldn't bring myself.
So it had to be doing something successful if it had that type of an emotional pull with you.
I did fall asleep, though.
You didn't?
I did, yeah. Oh.
We know that that's not like a feat, though, for a movie to put you to sleep.
No, but I was in college, so I had a lot more energy. This was like my second year.
When's the last time you tried to watch it?
Huh?
When's the last time you tried to watch it?
I was trying to explain to you, this was my sophomore year of college, so this has been a while ago. But.
So you're ready for another go? Well then, what is your number 50 instead?
Oh, I get to go again.
Yes.
This is from 96.
Staying in the 90s.
Of course. This is one movie that I know verbatim. Every single line in this movie, I know. This is one of the most quotable things for me. I love all the scenes. This kind of solidified my love for medieval times. Okay? You're not even going to be able to guess it for this. But it's The Cable Guy. Jim Carrey, Matthew Broderick, craziness ensued, and you gotta kill the babysitter. Have you seen this, Kevin?
I have seen this once.
then you don't even know what I'm talking about. Somebody's gotta kill the babysitter. Oh my god. Nobody? Neither of you? Dan?
I've seen this movie and I enjoyed it, but I was also really young and don't remember it.
It's also got Jack Black.
Yeah, I saw it in the 90s, and I have not seen it in probably nearly 20 years at this point.
Good lord, I can't even count how many times I've seen this movie.
I'm with Dan. I haven't seen this in at least 20 years.
God.
It was towards the end of those types of films that like Jim Carrey and Adam Sandler and they had were in their heyday in the 90s, and that kind of for me hit the tail end of that phase, and I was kind of done with those films for a while. So
then what the hell were you watching?
I don't remember. On to other things.
Nothing better than this shit.
Cable Guy I love coming up here.
I loved their back and forth. I love the tension. I love the comedy. I loved how serious but not it was. There was some high stakes. People were going to lose their job. People were breaking up with people. You're getting stalked. And shit got hardcore, okay? And I dug it. Dug it a lot. And I'm going to rewatch it a ton more times.
I will rewatch Cable Guy with you if you rewatch There Will Be Blood with me.
Whoa. Okay, Cable Guy is not as big of a commitment as There Will Be Blood by any means.
Fair enough. All right. I prefaced in the intro there that this is going to show some side of me that does seem to like depressing or heavy films, and I'm getting depressed just looking at the first three films on today's part of the countdown, so I'll try not to go too far here. But my first one's from 1989, so not quite in your 90s heyday, Amanda, a little bit before here. But I'm going to go with Peter Weir's Dead Poets Society for my number 50 pick. Did you just roll your eyes at Dead Poets Society?
I don't even know if I've seen that. Did I fall asleep in that?
Don't roll your eyes at something you haven't seen. But this movie, for me, especially when I saw it back when I was, 9, 10 years old, somewhere in that range.
Why would you watch this at 9, 10 years old?
I don't know, because I was an intelligent, mature individual.
Sure you were.
Maybe I was a little bit older. I don't know.
That's why you still have He-Man toys in our basement, mature adult.
Wow.
Say something again.
No, maybe I was 11 or 12. I don't know. I saw it in the first 3 or 4 years it came out, probably, because I do remember seeing it probably somewhere in 5th, 6th, 7th grade, somewhere in that range. And I don't know, there's something about it with Robin Williams and just kind of that whole teacher mentor aspect that I just really was drawn to right from the beginning. I think there's a lot of great lines and dialogue in this film. I haven't rewatched it as much as I would have thought I would have, just because I don't know. It's not one that you necessarily have to be in the right frame of mind, but I just haven't gone back to it a bunch, so it couldn't get any higher on my list. But I just remember being so drawn to it. I've probably seen it 2, 3 times, maybe at the most. But last time I saw it was probably at least 15 years ago. So Dead Poet Society is how I start today at number 50. Don't hate stuff you haven't seen, Amanda.
I'm pretty sure you've tried to get me to watch it a bunch, and I've said no every time.
Yeah, just like a couple other films that I still am going to reveal the rest of my way through that I'm very upset about.
And I'm finna roll my eyes every time.
Fair enough.
Catch me outside. How about that?
Don't.
I got to do it.
All right, Dan, save us. What do you got at your number 50?
My number 50 is a very different direction, but starting with one of at least 2 comic book films I'll be talking about today, and starting with Spider-Man 2 is my number 50. I know, I feel like there's been this revisionist history when it comes to the Spider-Man franchise, at least the first 2 movies, and now they're looked upon not as good as awful or bad movies or what have you. But I still think Spider-Man 2 is one of the best of any comic book movie. I like Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man and both Peter Parker. Maybe he's missing some of the quirkiness that you get with Andrew Garfield, but I do think he has an everyman quality to him that I think is great for that character. I love Alfred Molina's Doc Ock, really underrated performance. I feel some great action sequences. It's the train sequence is to me one of the best sequences of any Marvel film. Period. Great character work within the character of Spider-Man, and to me it's still crowning achievement for that of comic book movies. Action-wise, story-wise, to me, it is still up there amongst the best for me. So It's my number 50.
Yeah, I do hear that a lot, especially when people are ranking comic book films. Spider-Man 2, I still think comes up a lot. I think it's hard because we've had so many Spider-Man films that sometimes people kind of let it blend together or forget which one's which. But I don't know if maybe they're just letting it be tarnished by Spider-Man 3. But I'm with you. I think those first couple Spider-Man films were real good, and I need to rewatch them all though, because it's been a while, and there's been so many other superhero films that I'd like to kind of revisit some of those. But I don't think you're alone with the love for Spider-Man 2 as amongst maybe the top echelon of comic book films. Matt, what do you think about Spider-Man?
Oh man, I don't know if I'm revisionist history or not, but I don't think it's that amazing. I don't know. Like, I remember being bothered by this plot of Spider-Man 2 when it first came out. Like, what's up with this whole sun thing? And, like, is this really the way they're going to go with these tentacles? Because it's like, does the Doc Ock die and the tentacles take over? Like, I did not like it. But I mean, it's definitely in the top 2 of the original trilogy.
Wow, that was quite the statement there. What do you got for your next pick, Matt?
My next pick, shows kind of about when we were making this list, and maybe it wouldn't be in the top 50. I feel bad for everything in my top 50 now, guys, because I'm not a good movie guy. But I really enjoyed it so much. I was ranting and raving about it right when I came out of the theater. And that's Chef from 2014.
Nice. You just got us one more fan at least.
Oh, really?
Yes. This was Hyro from True Romance's #1 film of that year. So.
Oh man, I almost definitely put it in top 3, but I think one of the I could say almost certainly one movie from 2014 made it in my top 5. So I can't say that it was this one. I loved this movie. Like, I just loved it, and it was funny because, like, the person behind me in the theater every time was like, "Oh, that looks good. Like, what do you think they're gonna pair that with?" Like watching it so intently, and that made it better for me. People I was with got very upset, and at one point I turned around and like doing a hard shush, and it's like, come on, he's just enjoying it differently than you. I love, like, and the thing is that, like, I don't know, at some point you realize, like, how telegraphed this is. Like, oh, the love story is going to go this way, and the father-son story is going to go that way, and I know what's going to come, but that didn't matter, like, because it wasn't about seeing the destination, it was about going along on the journey, and it's one of the most fun movies to just watch. Very lighthearted, you don't have to, like, I don't know, it's not draining like There Will Be Blood and Dead Poet Society. You're not going to feel bad when it's done. You're going to smile and walk away, and it's light and breezy.
Yeah, that's
I'm
for sure.
going to go eat a Cubano after I see that.
Actually, we did that, I think. Almost immediately went to Lucha Cantina and got the Lucha Cuban.
There you go. Amanda, you like that film too, right?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like my favorite film of that year or anything, but it was solid. I liked it. It's got some RDJ in it too, which is never a bad thing for me.
That's the other mark that we didn't hit with your practical magic.
Yeah.
All right, what do you have for your number 49?
Okay, animated film. This is the only one that's breaking out of the 90s. This is the newest film that's going to be in this section, okay? And it's from 2000. A little Disney film called The Emperor's New Groove.
You're not putting The Emperor's New Groove in your top 50.
Yes! This is another movie where I know every single frickin' line. Me and my cousin, this is right when I got a frickin' webcam, and we did this thing where we played the movie in the background because we'd already watched it so many times, and we lip-synced the entire friggin' movie and acted out little stupid things. And it was fun, and it kept us out of trouble when we were just chilling in my basement. And it was a lighthearted movie. You learn some lessons. David Spade is a frickin' llama that dances. John Goodman is the conscience here. I loved it. I love the humor. I love the camaraderie. I love the lessons that they both learn. I love the trouble that they get into. Yzma is awesome. Kronk is hilarious. There is just a ton of stuff going on here that I just loved and can't wait to have kids so I can show them this funny movie.
Can I ask a question?
No.
How many animated films are going to be in your top 50?
I think just 2.
Really?
Oh, in the top 50?
Yeah, in the top 50.
I don't know a lot.
Like 30?
I don't know a lot. Just in this section, there's 2.
Okay. I was just going to say, if we're at Emperor's New Groove and we're in the top 50, there's got to be a lot coming.
You don't know much about me still, Kevin. If you don't know my love for Emperor's New Groove, you still have a lot to learn.
I was not aware that cat caught me out of left field.
Wait till I bring it up around Ashley.
All right. My number 49, I guess I messed up, and I'm going to upset the people that like numbers to work in a certain way, because my number 49 actually probably should have been my 50, because it is the film 50-50. This was my number 1 film of 2011 from Jonathan Levine, and it just floored me when I watched it, not just because I could find certain things to relate to or whatnot. I just thought it did I was impressed at the balance that it was able to pull off. I mean, when you get the premise for this film, it's not something you're jumping up and down and being like, oh, I want to be there opening day and watch this tale. But it did it so well as far as blending the comedy, blending the drama, and it wasn't dramatic or emotional, like, for the sake of doing that. It was authentic in the way it did it, and I don't know, I was just floored by it when it came out in 2011. I actually have not seen it since, and that's something I need to revisit, because I don't think you've seen it either, Amanda, right?
No.
So I'd like to watch it with you, but I just remember being so high on it in 2011, so I thought it was worthy of being in my top 50. So 50-50 is my number 49. That's confusing. Dan.
Yeah, I mean, I think you did that on purpose, didn't you? You're just like, nope, I'm doing this at 49 just because.
Right.
And number 49, I have, again, one of my favorite directors that I've had a lot in this countdown, which makes sense. It's one of my favorite films. And this is, I think, the first time I've had one of his movies on my list, and it's Alexander Payne, and it's a film Election. Election is one of those movies that shows you that it's not the concept or the plot of a film, it's how it's done. Because it's this movie about a high school president election, and it's just hilarious and satirical, and amazing performances by Matthew Broderick and Reese Witherspoon. Even Chris Klein is ridiculously hilarious. It's an oddball movie that gets to a lot of different things. It might arguably be, it's Alexander Payne's most provocative film compared to what's gone now, but Reese Witherspoon's fantastic. She plays this buttoned up character that's bent on becoming this next big thing, and this character's just this lonely everyday guy, and it's just an interesting concept with really colorful characters, and so it's a movie I highly recommend, and I find it hilarious and well written, and I think it's probably Pine's coming out party, and I don't think he ever got to this level again until maybe another movie that I'll be talking about on our countdown, but it's a great film that I would highly recommend.
This is another one that I haven't seen yet, so I'm going to have to add this one to the list that I need to get to after we get done with this venture. So, all right, Matt, what do you have up next at number 48?
Oh, man, at 48, I have another Robert Downey Jr. movie.
Woo-woo.
Look at that. And that's the 2009 Sherlock Holmes movie. This movie got me so excited for Sherlock Holmes, which is weird because I'm not a mystery guy normally. But, I went to the local Barnes & Nobles and bought the collected works and was reading them. Super fun, super great. Robert Downey Jr. brought a great energy to the movie and to the character, and I really loved these movies.
I also did. Super obsessed with it. I love what Guy Ritchie did. I love the innovation that he went to, or the lengths that he went to here, and the level of innovation that he brought to it. It looked amazing. I love RDJ as Sherlock Holmes. Him and Jude Law played off each other amazingly. I think that the movies weren't too straightforward. They did have mystery too. You were trying to figure out this mystery along with him. So it was a really cool journey and a fun ride, and definitely one that you can still rewatch even after you know the mystery, just based on how fun the movie is too.
I do think Jude Law and RDJ do have a good chemistry in these films, and I do, like you guys are saying, there was a lot of things that we hadn't seen done quite how they were done with the slow motion / I'm going to tell you what's going to happen type thing that they did here. Wasn't something that I had seen a lot beforehand, so that was kind of fun. I enjoyed these films a lot. I think the first one's superior to the second one, obviously, but I still enjoyed them overall. Yeah, I think that's a good pick with Sherlock Holmes. That means we are back to Amanda for your number 48.
Wow, I feel like it's going real fast. Let's see.
Want me to slow it down a little bit?
No, you don't need to do any slow-mo. All right, so I'm taking it from 2000 all the way back to 1990. Okay, 10 years difference. And this is a little Schwarzenegger film called Total Recall, all right? Not the new one with Colin Farrell, but the OG Schwarzenegger one. Sharon Stone and Michael Ironside. I love this movie. I like a lot of Schwarzenegger films from back in the day, all right? And this was definitely a fun one. I like the fantasy elements here too, and like, who doesn't want to like take a vacation in your mind sometimes? Like, maybe you can't make it to, you know, the beach for real, but you can take a little trip in your head and get there. I think that'd be super cool, but scary as well, because look what the fuck happened here. Okay.
Set it up like it's all roses and oh my. Wait, yeah, don't go near the other Total Recall though, because that is just awful.
There's hot garbage.
Hot garbage. All right, so a little 90s love Total Recall style. Dan, any thoughts on Total Recall?
I think it's probably, well, no, not as Schwarzenegger's best film, because there'll probably be Terminator 2, but it's up there. Maybe, it's such a great film. It's, you know, I love the somewhat mystery. Like, is he really thinking this? Is it, you know, is it all in his head? Or, some great characters, great, you know, obviously based upon a Philip K. Dick story. Yeah, a lot to love with Total Recall.
Yeah, it also represented, I think, a time period there in the late 80s, early 90s where sci-fi was kind of in an interesting stage, I guess, in its movie genre life or whatever, where we were seeing a lot of different crazy ideas and some original stuff, even if they're, you know, based on books or based on different things, but original to film for a lot of it. So I think it was a lot of good stuff came out of that period in the science fiction realm. All right, let me depress things a little bit again. I brought this up too many times on the podcast, so I'm probably going to have to stop talking about it eventually. But my number 48 is a 1997 film called Life is Beautiful. And I guess maybe I'm also a sucker for Holocaust films. But this movie is moving. If you don't feel something when you watch this film, then you don't have a working heart. So it's just a crazy story about the lengths that you go to for your children or your family. Also, though, a historical piece, you know, that should be preserved as far as representing kind of what humans are capable of and kind of that whole time period without getting into it too much. I think it was a very well done film. I think the acting is superb, and I think they hit a lot of authentic emotional beats in an important film. So Life is Beautiful for me is number 48, and I promised I will get a little happier at some point during today's countdown. So, Dan.
Freaking Debbie Downer.
Yeah, sorry about that. Dan, you're number 48.
Did you skip people? I feel like, am I crazy?
Did I skip anybody? Because I've done that in the past.
We know this.
I know. All right. No, I have my number 48. So I say that because you're depressing. I'm going to double down on all your depressing.
Nice.
With possibly one of the most depressing movies I've ever seen, and maybe the most depressing animated movie of all time. It's up there. But for me, it's when we did way back when did the greatest animated films of all time with top 100 lists. This was number one for me, and that's Grave of the Fireflies.
I still haven't seen this
It
one.
is just
Damn
a
it.
bucket of sadness on and it's if you haven't seen it, I won't say much, but you know, it deals with the aftermath of World War II and grief, and it's just a really powerful story, certainly about you know, dealing with some of the worst situations imaginable, really. And yeah, but it's not necessarily, I would say, just all sadness. It's not like there's any hope within that. It's just a touching story, and it's just amazingly done. You know, one of Studio Ghibli's best films, and it's considering it's not directed by Hayao Miyazaki, but still, it has, I think, a lot of the signature storytelling influences for sure. So, amazing movie. That it's not one that I watch a lot because of just, you know, the emotional impact it does have, but it's still important movie that, for me, changed kind of my mindset when it came to the way I look at animation and anime. So it's my number 48.
Yeah, I don't know why I haven't seen this yet, because I've heard about it for so many years, and I've never heard anybody say anything bad about it. Obviously, it is something that takes a certain mindset to watch, and it has a lot of emotional strings to it, like you're alluding to. But I really need to watch this, so I'll try to. This is going to be like the first one I watch when we're done doing this list. Matt, have you seen Grave of the Fireflies?
Actually, I haven't, but I have bought it. It's Studio Ghibli, and so I'm collecting all of them because they're my wife's favorite. And she's seen this one and said, "I'm never watching that again." So I've got it wrapped in Saran wrap. It's been in our house for 7 years now. Anytime you want to borrow, you let me know. I'm sure she will not miss it.
All right, sounds good. That means we're back to you, Matt, for your number 47.
Oh, man, I wish I could tie it back to the other two that I had just done. But I can't. It's V for Vendetta, comic book movie based on Alan Moore's original trade, which is, I don't know, I want to call the original one so much better, but it's an interesting that they took it and they followed a lot of the same things, but did something that's like almost entirely different, where characters that like you might have liked in the original one, or no, might have hated the original one, you like in the new one, and the other way around, I guess. It's such a fun, action-y movie, and it was really inspiring to my generation, I guess, and probably why you're hearing things like calls for revolution nowadays is because they saw this in high school and were like, hey, we can do that, although I don't know that we can do that. It's an interesting thing where you're rooting for the anarchist in the movie, crazy though he may be. Yeah, and just a couple of before, 51 of my last one, Natalie Portman shows up again, one of my favorite actresses.
Amanda introduced me to this one. I hadn't seen it, and we just watched it, 2 years ago? A year and a half ago?
I don't even remember.
Like that. You're a big fan of V for Vendetta as well, right?
Yeah, I really like it. We actually just brought up in the last segment of this, Leon Professional, and I talked about the parallels of Natalie Portman's character and her relationship to the person who was taking care of her, even though the V for Vendetta guy probably was actually holding her captive, really, but I think that this is a super interesting film. I did not know it was a comic book based movie. Or the material is, so that's pretty cool and interesting to me. I actually tried to rent The Professional today because Kevin hasn't seen it and I wanted to watch it again since we just brought it up. And the video store had sold both copies, but I'm pretty sure it's on Netflix, so we're good to go, Kev.
All right. What is your 47?
I was kind of kicking this around because I felt like I had already talked about it, but maybe because somebody else had brought it up. So I don't know if I've already talked about this or not. I don't think so. Maybe somebody else did. But this is from 1966, and that's How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Did somebody else bring this up on their list yet?
We talked about it when we talked about the best animated characters. I don't know if that's what you're thinking.
That's probably why, yeah. So I love the Grinch. I love the character of the Grinch. This movie has so many cute lessons. I love the rhymey, sing-songy way that it's written. I mean, that's pretty true to Dr. Seuss stuff. This is one movie that is one that I know will definitely stand the test of time. I watch this every year, and I'm an adult. Sometimes it even comes up on Pandora, so like the entire story plays out, and I'm just listening to it, and I can see it in my head and still love it. And I think this is the quintessential Christmas movie. I don't care about any of those Christmas movies. I love them all, but this one means it's time for Christmas, and I love it, and I don't know, I feel like it was definitely deserving of up this high on my list, especially the number of times I've seen it, and I know I'm going to watch it more.
All right. Grinch love.
You ain't got no love for Grinch. I can see you're just sitting over here.
I have no problem with the Grinch.
But you didn't say shit about him either.
I like the Grinch.
Maybe the Grinch is in his top 30 and he's saving his things.
Yeah, you never know. You don't know what's on my list, girl. All right. For my number 47, I'm actually going to go into the world of animation. I only have 2 animated films remaining on my countdown, which is kind of surprising to me. And this one I'm going back and forth between my number 47 and I think what I had at number 57 or 58. 2 films that I just recently caught up with finally in the last year to 2 years. Wall-E was down at number like 57, 58, and depending on when you ask me, these could flip-flop, but at 47 I have the film Up from Pixar. So I don't know why it took me so long to catch those 2 films.
Because Amanda had to come in your life and introduce you to all these things. That's why.
They're both amazing. And
I'm amazing? What?
The films
are
amazing. You're equally as amazing. But Up, and when I was doing this countdown, Up kind of won out, so I put that a little bit higher. But man, those 2 neck and neck. But Up, I have it as my second highest animated film. But at number 47, I think there's a lot to love here. I think there's, like I said with some of these other ones, a lot of emotional beats, but a lot of fun, comedy, adventure, and an interesting story. Like Dan, you've said a couple times, it's amazing how they can pull off this tale about someone of the age that they're depicting and have it still work as kind of a quote-unquote kids film. So nothing but love for Up at number 47.
Super heartbreaking. Like, I've only seen this movie twice, and it's given me a complex. Like, I feel like that is going to be me. I'm going to be that person sitting across from a grumpy old man because we couldn't have kids.
Why are you pointing at me when you're...
I just have my marker in my hand, all right, sir? It breaks you down, and it makes you think about some things that you might not even want to or even imagine yourself thinking about. And seeing the new relationship that he builds, or the relationships that he builds, and kind of how he overcomes some of his sadness and some of the things that were weighing him down is a beautiful story.
All right. Dan?
Why did you just say, all right, like...
I already said all my good things about it.
Sir.
No, I agree with you. That's why it's in my countdown here at number 47.
Maybe you should just say something like, all right, moving right along.
I ditto. Agree.
There we go.
Dan, what do you got at number 47?
My number 47, when we started, I said I want to get to a lot of blockbusters, and I'm getting to what's arguably maybe the first ever blockbuster with Jaws, Steven Spielberg's classic film, the movie that obviously scared people out of the ocean for such a long time. And I love Jaws a lot, but I actually gained new respect for it when a few years ago I went through every Spielberg film and did a review, and just seeing the progression of him as a filmmaker, and it really all came together with that of Jaws, and it's truly master filmmaking on every level, from the iconic score to the use of the camera to the character building to great acting. It's just a fantastic film that's entertaining and meaningful. It's the pinnacle of blockbuster entertainment while still having some really just great character moments as well. I think it's a movie that people have tried to recreate over and over again. It's every single shark movie gets related to it, really. I mean, it is the greatest shark movie of all time. Maybe Deep Blue Sea is like right there next to it, I guess. I don't know. Or Sharknado. They want to be Jaws, but there's only one Jaws, even though there's like 8 Jaws films, but there's really only one Jaws.
I want to go back and watch all the Jaws films because I haven't seen any of them in so long, in decades, that and I don't even know which ones I've seen and which ones I haven't seen out of all of them. So I kind of want to go through and do like a thing where I go through all the different Jaws films so I can finally kind of catch up more in like today's mindset to kind of see where I would place these. But I think Jaws is highly regarded for a reason. Obviously, like you said, it kind of stands above a lot in that genre. Matt, that means we're back to you at your number 46.
All right, for 46, I have I've got The Princess Bride is my number 46, and part of me wants to be like, everyone knows that I love fantasy, this genre, and this is all over that. Like, it's got like magic, and it's got swashbuckling, sword fighting, it's got roguish stuff, it's got all of the elements of a fantasy movie, even trying to save a princess, sort of. But like, it's like I'm looking at my list and I'm not seeing a lot of fantasy around it, which either means that it's one of the highest ones or all of mine are in save for the top 20. I don't know. Like, this is one that you introduced me to, Kevin. Well, I don't know if introduce is the right one. I'd seen it bits and pieces. It's always on TV. Well, I'm jibber jabbering. I am sorry. I am all out of it. It's on TV sometimes, and I catch bits and pieces of it. But you were the one who sat me down and said you have to watch this, and so I did, and I just loved it. It's so good. And, I got to support Freddie Savage. He's one of our biggest fans.
Nice, well played. Yeah, I agree, and I will save my comments on Princess Bride.
As will I.
There we go.
A lot of love there. All right, Amanda, that means you can save your love for that one, but you can give some love to your number 46.
Oh, I know y'all don't know nothing about this next movie. It's from 1999.
Good stuff.
Yeah. My number 46.
You're running out of films that came out in the 90s.
No, I'm not, bitch. I got a lot more, okay? My number 46 is a little drink called Mystery Men. Have you seen this? Definitely a spoof movie, but so amazing. And I wish there would have been a second one of these, but I'm glad this one wasn't ruined by any stretch here. So William H. Macy, Ben Stiller, we got Pee Wee motherfucking Herman in here, Jeffrey Rush, Janine Garofalo, I think it was Kel from Kenan and Kel. Dude was in here.
So how many people in this film never did anything after the 90s?
Dude, okay,
Whoa,
so
just kidding.
everybody's done stuff after this. Maybe not Janine Garofalo, but
There's
everybody
Smash
else.
Mouth that did the soundtrack.
Everybody knows that shit.
And they also stopped. Oh, never mind. Continue.
Whatever, okay? That song, everybody loved at that time, okay? But this is one of the movies that I loved to rewatch. Same thing. This is kind of in the same era when I was watching like The Cable Guy and stuff like that. And I loved all of the characters in here. I'm watching the Penny Dreadful TV series, and one of the characters from this popped up in that, and I was like, holy fuck, it's the Sphinx. But I feel like it's, no matter how spoofy and goofy and weird it is, it stays true to its genre. It knows what it is. There's some amazing world building in here. There's all these crazy gangs that follow all these super cool dress codes, and they have rules. I don't know, it's Jeffrey Rush getting a fart to the face from Pee Wee Herman in a limo, and that's all you need to know. So
would this blow your mind to tell you that this was also originally based on a comic book?
It would not, but I want to read that shit now, definitely.
The guy who sells me my comic books is actually real upset with this movie because when Kel's character does the invisibility thing, the gag in the comic book would be that you would never see him in any panel. Not you wouldn't see him affecting anything, because if anyone sees him, then he's not invisible. Mm-hmm. But that is also true for the viewer, and so they shouldn't have shown him in the movie being invisible, because you can see him being invisible, and that's not true to the character's power.
They didn't, I don't know what they wanted to do with that then. I thought it was good because you really only, quote-unquote, see him go invisible the one time, and you just see his clothes kind of fall away. And then he's like, look guys, I'm invisible, and then you see him and they turn around and he's naked, and so you see him again. So it was a brief thing, so that was just probably a director's choice or something like that. But the movie as a whole was super fun, and I wish I fucking owned it still. I had it on VHS, and no, I don't.
I'm sure it's not going to cost you much. It's probably $2.
I gotta find it though, bro. Just get on the Amazon.
Do some Amazon searches. All right, for my number 46, it's a film I have a hard time deciding where it was going to go on my countdown, because like I've said a couple times, I'm real bad at rewatching films. There's not a ton of films that I try to watch 2, 3, 4 times or whatever, so a lot of these are still based on the first viewing, and I need to catch up with some of them to kind of see how they resonate now, all these years later. But for my number 46, I'm going to go to David Fincher from 1995 45 with the film Seven. So I just keep putting these numbered films in the wrong spot to make everybody upset. But Seven's going to be at my number 46. I think there's a lot to love here, a lot of good actors involved, a lot of craziness, definitely for mature audiences and whatnot. So I can't speak too much about it because, like I said, I really need to rewatch it to kind of solidify my thoughts on it. But I knew it deserved to be in my top 100 somewhere, and I kind of fell with number 46 being where it kind of landed.
I think this is one of the movies that disturbed me in life the most above a lot of movies.
It's also one of the movies that has come the closest to being rewatched. Like every time I try to decide like a film to watch, like Seven's one of the 4 or 5 films I grab, and then somehow we never watch it. So
I've seen it quite a few times, but it fucks with me pretty bad. Like it is messed up, and some of these images in here are the most disturbing things I've ever seen in movies. But it's an amazing film. It's just a hard watch almost.
All right. Dan, what do you have at your number 46?
For me, at number 46, I have going in a kind of different direction, but going with one of my favorite actors of all time, and arguably maybe his best performance. I don't know. I guess it depends on what you're saying, but I'm going with Bill Murray and the movie Lost in Translation.
Nice.
And I know it's a film I think a lot of people dislike because it is very methodical with its pacing. Not a great deal happens, but I just love the relationship between Murray and Scarlett Johansson. I think it's really Murray showing a different side of his comedy, a little bit more subtle. And Sofia Coppola, who's a director I sometimes like and love in this instance, sometimes can't stand. But for me, it just worked here, and I think a lot of it had to do with the personality of Murray and seeing him like trying to just be this fish out of water, but done in a really interesting way. And the relationship to that, I think, really binds the movie together. So it's my number 48. Or 46. I can count.
That's how numbers work. Yeah, this is one that I definitely was considering when we were going to make the list. It didn't end up making my top 100, but man, I have nothing but love about this film too. I liked a lot of what they did with this one. I don't think, for what I've seen, Sofia Coppola has not quite been able to match what she did with Lost in Translation since, but I haven't seen all of the films she's put out. But I agree, this is a great film, and if you haven't seen it, you should seek it out. So, all right, great. At your number 46, that means we've revealed the first set of 5 today. We're going to take a quick break, pimp out a couple other shows that we're fans of, and then we'll be back with our 45 through 41 picks. So still 5 picks each when we come back from the break.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
On the Simplistic Reviews podcast, we talk movies. We talk TV. We talk.
Hello, Julie, what the heck are you doing?
Trying to make our spots sound more exciting by adding explosions.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you could have got the point across with sound effects, not the real thing. Car.
Download the show on iTunes or at simplisticreviews.blogspot.com.
I'm sure your insurance company will cover that.
No, they won't.
No, they probably won't.
Hey guys, it's Optimus Solo and
Hard Candy Mandy.
And we just wanted to let you guys know about another podcast out there that we both think you would all enjoy.
It's one of both of our favorite shows to listen to, and it's none other than the True Bromance podcast.
True Bromance is a movie podcast hosted by longtime friends Hyro and Barry, and if you like to smile, laugh, and just be genuinely entertained while listening to movie talk, then this is definitely the right show for you.
Each week, the guys break down a recently released movie, and not only do they tie in the movie that week to the beers that they are drinking during the show,
but they also tie it in to a real fun top and bottom 5 list associated with that movie.
It's a blast hearing both sides of these lists, and it definitely makes them unique amongst all other movie review podcasts.
So we definitely want to recommend all of you guys to go check out their show. Just search out the True Bromance podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, and all other podcast platforms. And if you listen via iTunes, do us a favor and leave them a 5-star review. And don't forget to let them know that the Cinema Geeks sent you.
All right, thanks for sticking with us. We're back to reveal the other set of 5 films today as we make our way towards number 40. So to get there, we got to start with our 45 picks. Matt, you're up first. What do you have at 45?
All right, my number 45, interestingly enough, the Humble Bundle is this, this online thing, not to be an advertiser or someone, but they sell all these different great products, and it goes to a charity, and you get to choose what goes to the creators of the products and what goes to the charity. And through them, I got audiobooks, and one of them was True Grit. And I listened to this audiobook, and it was very interesting, very entertaining. And so I decided to go and get the movie, and just on a whim went and bought the movie, the most recent remake, not the original, with John Wayne one. And this movie really just struck a chord with me. I freaking loved it enough to put it in my top 50 at number 45, True Grit.
I think a lot of people were pleased with the remake, even those that really loved the original. I think both films get a lot of love. Dan, what do you think about True Grit?
Yeah, I actually prefer the remake over the original. I mean, the original has its place, and John Wayne is probably his best performance. But it's a Coen Brothers over kind of just a generic Western filmmaking with the original, and Haley Steinfeld was her coming out of Power Party. Matt Damon's even fantastic, and there's just kind of a different role for him, and it's just some really odd scenes. I think of the scene where they kind of come across this random poetry guy in the woods. It's just some oddness that you expect for the Coen Brothers. But yeah, I love True Grit. It's honestly I debated putting it in my top 100 as well, because it's one of my favorite films. It was near the top of my list for the best movies of that year. We watched that movie a lot too, which is saying a lot considering how it's a pretty lengthy film, but it's just really funny, and there's a lot to it. So.
Yeah.
To speak to liking the remake over the original, the remake is really close to the book, and the original one was supposed to be more like, hey, look, we got John Wayne, so that's a reason why it's generally viewed as a better movie.
Fair enough. I enjoyed this one too. I haven't seen it since it came out in theaters, but I remember liking it quite a bit at the time. Another one I need to revisit. Amanda, what do you have at your number 45?
Well, let's get into the Bruce Willis love, all right?
Ready for it.
This is from 1997, a little film called The Fifth Element, all right? Got some Gary Oldman. So, I'm into, I love the sci-fi here. I love the look of this. I love the feel. I love the comedy. Ruby Rod is off the his hook. I love the world building. I think the effects are great. I love the use of color. I think all the alien creatures are really well done and look pretty sweet. A lot to love here, and I think Bruce Willis did a great job of being a dude that's pretty much like Bruce Willis, but in space. So, I have a lot of love for this film, and it's been on TNT 5,000 frickin' times, and I'll sit and watch it whenever the hell it's on. I don't care. And one of the characters is going to be in A Ghost in the Shell. The Ghost in the Shell? A Ghost in the Shell? What is that? The new ScarJo movie? The Ghost in the Shell. And I felt the same kind of vibes watching the trailers for that as I did for The Fifth Element. So I thought that was pretty cool that it even had one of the same characters. A very small side character, but I think it was a cool tie-in for me. So that got me excited for A Ghost in the Shell. I can't even say it. The Ghost in the Shell. Yep. The new ScarJo movie where she's like a thing. But yeah, I love The Fifth Element, and it's got a ton of rewatchability. I'll rewatch it some more. Fuck yeah, Bruce Willis.
With the fist pump in the air that nobody could see. All right, Dan.
Power to the people.
Dan, what do you think about The Fifth Element?
We could feel it, though. If I was going to do the top 100 of films I've rewatched the most, Fifth Element would probably be in the top 5, because like Amanda mentioned, it's always on TV, and it's just one of those movies where it just comes at you with its color and life and personality, and it's like a movie that I think the first time I watched it I thought, this is awful, but I'm going to keep watching, and then I just kind of grew to love. So it's not in my list, but it is a really, I can understand why people love it, and as I do as well, but there's a lot of brilliance to it. It's a very unique, this random mix of things that somehow end up working. So yeah.
Me and my grandma will even watch this together. That's how dope this movie is.
Nice.
But she likes TNT.
All right. For my number 45, it actually pains me to put this in the 40s, because I feel like this should be so much higher on my list if it's a personal list, because this was probably one of my favorite film series for a long time in my life. Like, this was it was my go-to film. Like, I would watch these films in college on repeat, and Mel Gibson was always my favorite actor growing up. I couldn't foresee the future and what kind of things he would do and say, but he was always one of my favorite actors. He was always one of my favorite actors growing up, and I think part of that was because of Lethal Weapon. So, 1987 Richard Donner film, Lethal Weapon. I'm only putting one per series, so this is where Lethal Weapon, the series, I guess, falls for me. But if I had to pick one, I'd pick the first one. And I love everything about Lethal Weapon. I can watch all of those films. Like I said, I don't rewatch a lot of films, but this is one of the film series that I could watch every time it comes on and be fine with it. So, love Lethal Weapon, love Mel Gibson. That's my number 45.
I like Lethal Weapon 4.
Okay, you would. Do you know why?
Joe Pesci.
And it probably came out in the 90s.
Yeah, I think it did.
All right, so it might have come out in 2000. I don't know. It was
Why are you hating on me either way?
Neither. I'm not hating.
Oh, I thought he was going to be a lot meaner. I thought he was going to be like, you know why? It sucks. And I was like, dang, Kevin, savage. But then he didn't, and it was like, oh.
She's too close. I can't do that right here. All right, so my number 45 was Lethal Weapon. Dan, what is yours?
My number 45 is, I guess also a 90s film, and with The Matrix. It's not really much more to say about The Matrix, but it's great action, great concept. Really sad they're talking about rebooting it. Don't really need to do that. That's not something you need to do. Please don't. But it's just, The Matrix has obviously it set the stage. It was one of those pillar films that changed the action and sci-fi genre, and you had so many movies that tried to be The Matrix, including its own sequels that weren't nearly as successful. But to me, it's so much fun. There's such great entertainment in it. Just the end sequence shootout, it's just brilliantly directed. Keanu Reeves being as Keanu Reeves as possible, and the first time I watched it, I really knew nothing about it. I don't know how I missed all the trailers and the hype. I rented it from like a local video store and watched it and knew nothing about it, like the concept or anything. So I remember just being really just taken aback, like, that's insane. And just the idea behind it just really seemed like groundbreaking to me, and since then I've always loved it. So it's maybe the special effects don't hold up super well compared as much as people thought they would, but I still think that when you get to just the basic action sequences and how well they're directed, it's still great. It's sad that the Wachowskis never got to this level again, and maybe one day they will, but just for this movie, they made just a great film.
Is that because one's a lady now?
What?
I don't think that's why they're not going to direct it anymore.
That's not why they've gone downhill. But I think the weird thing is we're all still holding hope that they're going to be able to recapture that magic. But I'm with you, Dan.
I mean, I've heard good things about the Netflix series they did, but I haven't watched it myself. And I like Speed Racer. Speed Racer is kind of a guilty pleasure, and it's kind of crazy, but it's not, I think, to the level of The Matrix.
Right. I'm agreeing with you on a couple things. Number one, reboot not necessary, and
they had Matrix Reloaded. It was reloaded. You don't need to reboot it if it's already been reloaded.
That's dumb pun.
And I'm also obviously in agreement because I think we're only about 10 off on this one. You had it here at 45, and I had it at 56. So I'm right in line with you with The Matrix. Matt, what do you have now at number 44?
All right. First thing I want to say, I don't know. We don't really get a lot of haters who say like, "Hey, you misspoke," but I'm pretty sure
because they're so used to it.
Oh, dang. I think Ghost in the Shell has no article. It's just Ghost in the Shell. I had the immediate visceral reaction of it's not a Ghost in the Shell, but I don't think it's the Ghost. I think it's just Ghost in the Shell.
That's easier for me to say then.
See?
There we go. We fixed it.
Just don't add things to it, and it's fine. I'm going to go to the 90s because everyone else is. How about that? And for my number 44, I'm going to go, we're doing, franchise, I'm going to choose Star Trek Generations. I don't know that it's probably the best Star Trek movie, but a lot of them are so good, and it's not Nemesis, the worst one of the Next Generation batch.
No.
So, I really liked Generation. it gives you the so. What interesting thing, like when Next Generation was on, they were making movies for the original series. Like, so to have this where it's like a true handing off in the movie, like here we go, you get pretty much every original actor ends up in the Next Generation series because of this movie. It's, I don't know, Star Trek, guys.
I like this one a lot because I'm much more of a fan of the Next Generation than the original series, and I wish we could get a reboot of the Next Generation series like we have been recently with the original series, because I just like Riker and Picard and all them so much better than the original crew. So I enjoyed this film no matter what some people said about it. I was a big fan, and I do agree it's one of the better ones of the Next Generation films. So I'm in full support of this one being the Star Trek.
Which movie is the one where the Klingons come and fuck people up, and then there's like they're in a room and there's like zero gravity, and they walk in after this mutilation has happened, and all the blood is like floating in the air?
That's the original series.
No, there's a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably Star Trek like 4 or 5.
Yeah.
I want to watch that again. That scared the crap out of me.
I'm trying to think. No, it's got to be 5 or 6 because 4 is the whales. And 3 is Search for Spock. Like, I know the first 4 really well. It's the last couple that I have trouble with.
I recently watched it, but I can't put the name on it.
We haven't watched it.
I must have watched it right before we started dating.
So it's been some years, sir.
All right, time to put Star Trek back in the rotation. Amanda, what do you have at number 44?
Oh, sir, bring it to 92. My number 44 is My Cousin Vinny. Joe Pesci, The Karate Kid, boom. Marissa Tomei, Her Biological Clock is Ticking. I see this movie a ton. I don't know why my mom let me watch this so many times. She liked it too, though. That's probably why. And it was really fun, and I liked the comedy. I thought Joe Pesci as a New York low-level lawyer in the South, and his nice suits getting stuck in the mud and all that crap. I ate it up. I love it. I'll rewatch it. And you guys aren't saying anything.
I'm just listening.
Okay.
Listening. I'm thinking that you were, when we came up with this idea, that you were really wanting to just do top 100 90s films. So this is like your rebellion. You're like, I'm going to put as many 90 films in here.
I don't need it to be a top 100 90s films, okay? A lot of my movies that I like just happen to be from the 90s.
My Cousin Vinny. I haven't seen this in years. This is like a trip down memory lane for me.
This is my time capsule of awesome.
All right. For my number 44, I'm going to just join the party. Let's all be in the 90s. So I'm going to go to 1995. I think this film is probably one of the best of its genre, especially for that time period. I'm going to go to Michael Mann's film Heat, because it just doesn't get much better as far as a crime, drama, thriller than Heat. It's still somewhat of a masterpiece, I think, in that genre, and one of Michael Mann's best films. Some great performances here from a number of different people, and I think it's pretty rewatchable too. So I got nothing but love for Heat. Not The Heat, Amanda. This is not The Heat.
I was thinking that. I was like, oh.
Not the Sandra Bullock film. This is more serious. So Heat.
Whoa. What?
From 1995.
You're not.
How did that not make my list?
The Heat or Heat?
Heat. No. It's Robert De Niro and the other one that's like his clone. No, like it's a great heist movie. Like when I went on my heist kick, I asked everyone I knew for their favorite heist movies, and I made a list and I tried to see anyone I could. And I mean, I bought Heat, and it was great. And it's even like I'm looking at my list, like off to the side. These are the ones that didn't quite make it, and it's not on my list. Good movie.
All right, some agreement here. Amanda, have you seen Heat?
I don't.
It's from 1995.
Okay, well, I didn't see every fucking movie in the 90s.
Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, Val Kilmer, Natalie Portman, Ashley Judd, Tom Sizemore, John Voight.
I should have seen this.
All right, we'll put it in after the record.
What?
Dan, what do you got at your number 44?
Well, I'm going to step out of the 90s for at least for a little bit. Actually, I think no, I don't think I have another 90s movie, but much more recent. Well, actually, no. Sadly, this is almost a decade ago. Now that I look at it, with 2008. David Aronofsky is like, I just love this movie. The documentary style, Mickey Rourke coming back and reminding the world how great of an actor he is. I did grow up as a fan of wrestling, and I've seen documentaries like Behind the Mat, and you see so many parallels with that in this film. And I guess Marissa Tomei is the theme of today's podcast because she's also in this and has a great performance as well. So it's just such a well-directed and made movie, and it's nearly flawless in my eyes. It gets better on rewatch. It's so simple too. There's not like a lot of flash to it. It's just, let's just tell a story about this compelling character who has a really has a struggling life, his attempt to recapture fame, and this kind of depiction of the subculture that many people are well aware of and some have no idea exists. So it's a great film, and my number 44, to me, one of the best films of the 2000s, bar none.
I still think one of the best endings of the 2000s, easily for me.
It's a really sad movie, though, like, especially if you know anybody who's, like, in this world. Like, there's I'm really close to my aunt, and her best friend was actually married to Macho Man Randy Savage. Her name was, her mat name, or her wrestling name was Gorgeous George. Her real name, I'll keep on the table here, so not to bust her out, but her life has been this huge back and forth ever since then. And I feel awful for her. She's got a horrible drug addiction, had kids that she doesn't even have with her anymore. You can't ever keep track of her. You never know what state she's going to be in. She was in such great shape, and now, she struggles with her weight to try to keep in this image so she can still try to make money off how she looks. And it's really sad about some of the struggles that they go through, and seeing Mickey Rourke in this made it so real too. Like, I believed it wholeheartedly.
I think this also represents the first film up to this point, not that there's not going to be more coming, but the first film that has shown up on at least 3 of our lists. I had this at number 71, and I believe, Matt, you had this listed somewhere as well.
57.
Yeah, so 3 of us so far with equal love for The Wrestler. All right, Matt, bringing it back to you then for your number 43.
All right. So I think I found my oh geez, I'm losing it. The theme is comic books, because my next one's the Superman. Specifically, I want to say specifically the Richard Donner Superman, but I don't know. I really, really love Superman Returns, and I know that movie got so much hate, but it's such a perfect, like, replacement for Superman 3. The one where the computer hacker has a pen that hacks computers, and also he's Richard Pryor. And like that's a weird, or even Superman 4, where we clone Superman by throwing atomic bombs at the sun, but Superman's hair was on it. Clone. With Gene Hackman's voiceover for the whole movie, for the whole super evil Superman. Oh man, I love those original 4 and Superman Returns. Superman gets a lot of guff. Everyone's like, it's hard to write a good story for such a like superhuman, but I think it's not. I think it's really easy to do a compelling story as long as you're willing to let the story take you. That's the thing, is you have to come in with an open mind. Superman's a great character and can have great stories, and I think I love the Superman movies, except for Superman vs. Batman, because F that movie.
Oh, wow.
Did you like Man of Steel?
I liked it when I saw it in theaters, and I had no one to talk to. Like, when I watched it in theaters, I was like, that was a pretty interesting movie. And then as soon as I sat down in a room with people and watched it on TV, I was like, what the F is wrong with this movie? A lot.
So the classic Supermans more so than the modern Supermans.
Yeah.
All right. Amanda, any Superman love, or right to your number 43?
Yeah, I definitely dig some old school Superman, but I didn't have as much hate for the newer Superman as everybody else. I'm not even just talking about Batman versus Superman. I'm talking about what is the other?
Man of Steel.
Yes, Man of Steel. That I didn't really like the whole he had a kid and stuff. That was kind of weird, but I get it. Anyways, we'll move on from that then. My number 43, still in the fucking 90s. Big surprise. 1997's Face Off. What do I need to say about this? I had a huge love for Nick Cage back in the day. Also John Travolta. Seeing them together and seeing them flip-flop. So seeing them as both good guys and bad guys was super freaking cool. The science behind it, pretty spot on. Pretty sure that's a thing now, okay? And I think that this movie had a ton of freaking action, a ton of suspense, and also some heart. There's some sad freaking moments in this too. So dug it. It was outrageous, and yeah.
It was like right in that same time period where we got like The Rock and Con Air and Face Off. It was like all. I remember I had a movie club subscription back in the day when you got like VHS tapes, and I think I got this.
Your mom let you watch that?
Yeah, of course. We watched everything, but it was like that introductory where you get to like get 7 for the price of 1, and Face Off was one of the ones I got. It was back in the day.
I can't believe you even remember that.
I remember everything. All right, for my number 43, I was silent earlier because it came up already in today's episode, so I'm obviously in agreement with Matt. I'm going to the world of Paul Thomas Anderson for 2007's There Will Be Blood for number 43. So this is why I was saying, Amanda, I need to revisit this one. She is like shaking her head. I'm not even going to say what you look like just then. But There Will Be Blood is great. It might be my favorite Paul Thomas Anderson film up to this point. And Daniel Day-Lewis is freaking amazing to watch. Just about do anything. We'll see as he enters the world of fashion here with Paul Thomas Anderson here later this year, hopefully. But yeah, There Will Be Blood. I find something new about it that I like every time I watch it.
Why? There's the most despicable motherfuckers in this movie, and the way he treats his son is fucking awful. And maybe it's because I have such like I don't want to call it a soft spot, but I get really defensive when deaf people are treated badly. Like it makes me super freaking mad, and there was no point behind it. Like maybe he just wanted his son to be like, the world doesn't owe you anything, and you gotta do what you gotta do, and all that stuff. But he didn't. Like I felt like I was like, does he really like this kid? Like that wasn't even his real kid, was it? Was it?
You'll have to rewatch the film.
So why did he even take that kid in? Why didn't he just like give it to somebody else or whatever if he didn't care?
I think all these questions can be answered by
yeah. You just need to watch it.
A rewatch is on the table.
I need to carve out like an entire day because I'm gonna have to take breaks and then like go in the bathroom and cry for a little while and then come back out and then like slash a pillow or something with a knife. Like there's gonna be so much back and forth of emotion here. You better just let me watch it by myself, Kevin. You don't even get near me because I'm gonna be a freaking mess.
It's got some of the greatest lines in recent times.
Like what?
We'll have to rewatch
like, you got a milkshake over there!
Well, you have to rewatch it, and we'll write down the lines that you like the best. All right. There Will Be Blood for Matt, for me, equal love. That means Amanda.
Blood when I punch you in the nose for me to watch this.
All right, Dan, number 43, what do you got?
For number 43, I talked about one comic book movie. I'm talking about another one. Probably when people talk about comic book movies is one that they say is the best of all time, and I don't necessarily disagree. So for me, number 43 is The Dark Knight. I remember seeing it in theaters and just like that was a great summer because you had Iron Man and then Dark Knight, and it just was like that game changer. I was like, wow, that's amazing. Seeing Joker on screen, probably the best performance. Christopher Nolan, the top of his game. It obviously was the crowning achievement, and it has been for that of comic book movies, and in many ways changed the Oscars because when it didn't get nominated for Best Picture, next thing you know, now we're nominating 10 movies, and hopefully if we get another Dark Knight, it'll get a nomination. But it's a great film, great score. And I don't know, there's not much more to say about The Dark Knight. It's probably one of the most talked about movies regarding comic books of all time, and deservingly so.
Yeah, obviously I'm in agreement. I had it, I think, in the 80s. I had 83. I think that's the highest I had any comic book film. I could be wrong. I have to go back through my list, but I agree. I think it's changed the game for comic book films. It's something that we grew up on comic book films that that are more in the vein of like what Matt was talking about with Superman, and not that there's anything wrong with that, but we've got all these just kind of like crazy cartoony like films with the different Batman films and Superman films, etc. And nobody had really gone to this level and tried something like this. And the fact that it was so successful, testament to the combination of both the director involved and the actors and actresses involved. But a lot to love about Dark Knight for sure. Matt, any thoughts?
I mean, so he says it's one of the most talked about movies, and I think that's what killed it for me, is I didn't see it until it was on DVD, and I had heard for 6 months how it was the best movie ever. So like, I don't have the love for this movie. It's an okay movie. It's the best of the Christopher Nolan 3, like, because the other two are just trash. But like, it's good. Like, I can't not say the Joker wasn't amazing. Like, Heath Ledger did an amazing job acting, but it's not my favorite Batman movie. My favorite Batman movie will be in the next 10.
All right, we'll have to wait and see what that will be. Matt, that means it's your turn, right? Am I screwing up numbers, or is this still a thing?
Nope, that sounds right.
All right. What do you got next?
Number 42.
Correct.
Continuing with the comic book theme of this episode, I have Ant-Man. It's superhero movie, but it's like, again, not like the superhero movies we grew up with. This is like a genre movie. This is a heist movie that happens to have superheroes in it. Like, Ant-Man is great. Just the buzz around it was amazing, especially because, again, it's a departure from what we were getting even just year or two before it. Like, and I love the concept of doing a genre thing in a thing. Like, I'm looking forward to getting like a Star Wars horror movie, say. And so getting a heist movie in the Marvel Universe is 100% right up my alley, especially because I really like superheroes and I really like heist movies. So Ant-Man, 42.
Amanda, thoughts on Ant-Man?
I've only seen it the once, but I thought it was pretty great. I don't think it sticks out to me as one that I would put at the top of the Marvel Universe, but that's only because I've seen it once and I've seen the other ones a lot more. We own it. I just need to get back into it. I think Michael Pena was like the best part of that movie for me. He was hilarious.
Dan, you have any thoughts on Ant-Man or a response to what Matt was talking about before with the Dark Knight trilogy?
I mean, I could see regarding Dark Knight why people talk about it. You wouldn't like it. One, I disagree that the other movies in the Nolan trilogy are trash. I find that kind of, I don't want to get into that now, but Ant-Man I like. It's Paul Rudd's, I'm a big fan of him. I had some issues with it, mostly same issues you tend to have with Marvel films. The villain's kind of forgettable. It's your standard origin plot, but I do agree, like, the heist elements were strong. I loved how they kind of used the powers of Ant-Man, and both the way he was able to communicate with animals or ants, I should say, and the way he would be able to grow and shrink things, and I thought that was well done. And Michael Pena, like Amanda mentioned, so it ended up being a lot better than I think I thought it was going to be, considering all the turmoil, directors, and everything that happened beforehand. I still think if Edgar Wright had fully directed it, it would have been maybe even better. But still, what we got was a pretty solid film.
All right, I can see a whole sidebar conversation going off on the website here about where we're putting all of our different comic book films and kind of who thinks of what. So we'll have to see if that actually happens or not. Amanda, what do you have at number 42?
Didn't Dan just go?
No, he just responded.
Oh, okay. I'm confused.
I'm not screwing up the numbers today, no matter how hard you try to get me to.
Don't let me. Yeah. My number 42 is still in the 90s. Stop your hating. It's a 1993 Hocus Pocus. We had a Christmas movie. Now we got a fucking Halloween movie. We're just rounding it out, all right? Bette Midler, Sarah Jessica Parker. That's what's up, okay? Everybody loves this movie. Everybody wants a sequel, okay?
No, they don't.
This movie is amazing.
There's a sequel?
No, everybody wants a sequel. There's always been talks.
Who wants a sequel?
Dude, okay, I've seen 6,000 times on Facebook. They even made a freaking poster for it, okay? It's a thing.
One fan posted that 6,000 times.
No, Kevin.
So Hocus Pocus better than Practical Magic? Is that what we're saying?
Yes, because this movie is one that makes you get into the holiday, all right? Halloween. What does everybody want to do? They ever want to watch Halloween Town, Halloween, or Hocus Pocus, okay? That's a thing. I love the characters. I thought it was super fun. I was the perfect age when I saw this the first time. And I'm definitely going to rewatch. Why the fuck are you hanging your head in your hands right now? His face is all red. I'm hating you. I hate you right now. Stop it.
I'm sorry. I have no words. No words.
I enjoy this movie.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you. This is an enjoyable movie.
All right, next Halloween, we'll do the Practical Magic Hocus Pocus double feature.
Yes.
That's a thing. All right. For my number 42, I'm still getting a look of hate. I'm sorry.
If I had Superman, like, death rays in my eyes, he'd be Dunsky's.
True.
Heat vision.
Heat vision.
Yeah. For my number 42, I'm going to go to 2012, not too long ago, one of the more recent films on today's section. I'm going to go to Ang Lee's Life of Pi, because I think this movie is amazing. It's amazing from a visual standpoint. It's amazing from a thematic standpoint. And I just think there's a lot to love, and I think there's a lot of...
Thematic standpoint? What the fuck do you mean about thematic standpoint? Now you better break it down. Now you better have a reason.
The themes
what
that
themes?
It is, the different takes on religion, and the way that it kind of poses some questions and kind of flips things on its head, and makes you reconsider things that you think.
Do you hang out with a tiger, or do you let this dude drown?
Is that a question you're asking me?
That's the question I got
think
from that
that's
movie.
one of the coolest CGI tigers that I've ever seen in my life.
It's a kid and some CGI shit. That's basically Jungle Book on a raft.
Except not.
Yes.
When's the last time you saw this film?
When it came out.
Okay. Well, then you need to rewatch that, because I think you missed a whole bunch, especially in the second half.
Bored as hell.
But I think the stuff that you're just doing that because I hate it on Hocus Pocus. You've probably never even seen this film.
I have, one fucking time, and I don't even think I finished it.
Oh my goodness, this film is amazing. I've never heard anybody but Amanda say something bad about this film, and I love the commentary it has. So Dan, you got to be on my side on this. Life of Pi is amazing.
No, I actually don't like it. No, I love Life of Pi. So, it was, one of my favorite. That was a great year for movies in general, and that was one of my favorite movies of that year. Also, I'm not a huge 3D fan, but actual good practical use of 3D. It was one I'm glad I saw in theaters in 3D, because there are certain sequences I think that are much more impactful when you see that, especially like there's a boat sinking sequence, and some of them are spectacular sequences, and just how it blends reality and fantasy, and it's visually, like, to me, I think it won the Oscar for best special effects, and deservingly so, because it's a great looking movie. And typically with CGI, you're using CGI to make it look realistic, which it does obviously with the tiger, but then there's moments where they were taking reality and trying to spin it and make it look more fantastical. And it was just, the creativity in it was amazing. So, and the fact that was that guy's first performance ever in a movie, to me, was insane, because it's him the entire time by himself, acting to CGI nothingness. So it's pretty good, pretty impressive debut performance. So
I played a lot of Barbies when I was a kid. So does that count? Because I had a big imagination. It was just me and some plastic stuff.
I guess. I mean, if you wanted to, did you?
I had some epic Barbie adventures.
Did you have Ang Lee in the background directing you, trying to get the emotion out for the particular scene? Then maybe I would say so.
He really brought out the best in me.
I have as many words for that response as I do for Hocus Pocus. Matt, have you seen Life of Pi?
I have not.
All right. We'll have to add that to your homework list. So, all right. That means it is time for Dan's number 42, because that's how this rotation works. So what do you got, Dan?
For number 42, I want to go to one of my favorite comedies of all time, by one of my favorite comedians of all time, and I'm a huge Steve Carell fan. I was ever since I saw him in The Daily Show, and Office is one of my all-time favorite TV shows, so it makes sense that I'm a huge fan of the 40-year-old version of the movie, not just some random dude, because that'd be weird. But I love this movie. Again, it's one I rewatched. I actually ended up seeing this movie in theater 3 times for some reason. It was just one of those things where I just went with separate friends and separate days. So, but I laughed each time a great deal, you know. And as a fan, as a person with a lot of friends within the film and who also collect toys like him, like I saw a lot of parallels with him and a lot of my friends, and there was a lot of debate about who would be that guy in the future out of all of our group. So that's, you know, but I think Carell's so freaking endearing. It's such an amazing cast too, because you look at this, you have a lot of people in this before they became huge stars, from Jonah Hill to Seth Rogen, you know, Elizabeth Banks, Jane Lynch. Like a lot of these people, like it was Judd Apatow. One of his best skills is getting talent and seeing talent before in casting, and I think this is probably one of his best examples of it. So I love 40-Year-Old Virgin as obviously because I have it on this list, so that's kind of redundant, but still, but you know, it's great comedy.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's a lot to love there for 40-Year-Old Virgin. I need to rewatch this one, actually. I saw it quite a few times when it came out, but it's been a long time since I have seen it. I'd like to see where I would stack that up against some of the other comedies that came out in that same time period. So, but I think you got a lot of accurate statements there that you made about the cast and about the moments there. So, Amanda, any love for 40-Year-Old Virgin?
I've only seen parts of this movie, and I was like drunk at somebody's house, and they had a bootleg version, so I don't think I got a good.
Have you ever seen a movie all the way through without falling asleep that wasn't from the 90s?
Yes.
Okay, I was just double checking that for our viewers.
Well, the other day, last night.
I'm just kidding. Wow, idiot! It was just, you got through A Valley of Violence, which was a garbage movie, and you couldn't get through anything else.
You gotta catch me at the right time.
All right, Matt. It's your turn for the last pick of today.
My final one. Yeah. So, like I said at the beginning of this, most of my movies are movies I've seen for the first time in the last 5 years, and this is going to be astonishing to some people. That includes the entirety of the Indiana Jones franchise.
You've never seen that until the last 5 years?
Yeah, I just saw those as a grown ass man for the first time ever.
And I'm glad that they're coming up on your list then.
Yeah, I mean, they're great. They're right up my alley, and there's no reason I shouldn't have grown up with these movies, and I don't know why I didn't. I mean, Harrison Ford's always great. Like, even in, like, Air Force One, he's good, right? And so, like, in this, where it's just, like, his bread and butter, like, the perfect time, like, they came out at the perfect time, you know, it's just, they're so good. Like, why did I not watch? Hey, you know what's great? You know what's the best thing about watching them as an adult is that I don't have nostalgia, and I don't hate Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Like, I don't know. I get there's a lot of haters. I don't quite understand it. But I also wasn't waiting for it for 20 years.
True.
And so it lives up to my expectations of, hey, everyone hates this, and it's not the worst movie.
Do you have a favorite out of the series?
No, because I watched them all over, like, a weekend, and so I don't know the difference. I don't know, because, you know, there's some weirdness to them, like, the Last Crusade is the chalice, and that's good.
Most people go to either The Last Crusade or Raiders of the Lost Ark, I believe, is kind of the consensus that most people are in one of those two camps, with Temple of Doom being a little bit lesser.
I've got my favorite Indiana Jones movie on the list, so I won't talk too much.
All right.
But I do have some Jones on the list.
All right. I guess we'll have to wait and see which one makes the list for Amanda. But, Amanda, one thing you can reveal is what is your last pick for today. What's your number 41?
All right, shut up, 1999.
Just don't even give us years anymore. Stop it.
This is my last Bruce Willis film.
I thought you were going to say this is your last 90s film.
No.
Bruce Willis. More Bruce Willis love. What do you got?
The Sixth Sense. M. Night Shyamalan. It's his tippy top right here, I'd say. Love the feel of this. It scared the crap out of me when I was younger and I saw this. Having seen some of the commentary afterwards, rewatching this is amazing because he does this thing where right before one of the ghosts happens or there's some interaction with the ghost, on the screen somewhere, there's going to be an object or a piece of the scenery that's this red color. It's going to be red. So at one point, the kid's sweater is red. His tent has got a red blanket. There's a red doorknob on the door that Bruce Willis can't get down into the basement. So you can just pick out all these things on the rewatch and go back and see more. I love a film that you can rewatch over and over again and pick out more and more. And this movie takes you to some really dark places, and it's got one of the most iconic and most parodied line, I'd say. So I think it's got some pop culture heat to it, and I think that it's something that I'm going to run a rewatch, and I think that it's a great part of the genre.
So I know you said that you can pick up more things each and every time that you watch it. Looking forward to our Halloween double feature. When I watch Hocus Pocus, is that going to be something I can say about that? That every time I watch it, I pick up something new?
You might, because you've only seen it one time. This is a kid's movie versus an M. Night Shyamalan movie, okay? Shut your mouth.
All right. Any other thoughts on The Sixth Sense out there, Dan, Matt?
I guess I'm kind of similar to the way Matt was with Dark Knight with Sixth Sense, because I saw it long after like all the hype, and actually I think it was definitely spoiled for me before I watched it, so it didn't have that same impact for me. I mean, I think it's still Shyamalan's best film, and there is some great filmmaking and some great child performances, and one of Bruce Willis's best performance, but it didn't have that longing impression, because I feel like it got, by the time I saw the film, I felt like I already saw it, because I just was already so much within pop culture at that point in time.
And also, Donnie Wahlberg. I did not know that was freaking Donnie Wahlberg. And then I found out about it. I'm like, no way. There's no way. And it doesn't look like him at all whatsoever. A complete body transformation.
The question is, how many listeners know who Donnie Wahlberg is?
What?
Just kidding. Matt, Danny, have you seen Sixth Sense?
Actually, this is one, in the 90s, my parents would always go to the movie store every week and rent a movie and watch it. And I remember sitting with them for about half of this movie and losing interest. But I also, was it 99? I was like 12. So it's not really for me. I do have an M. Night Shyamalan movie, I believe, in my top 10, though. So I have respect for him as a director. This one, it wasn't my cup of tea when I tried to watch it as a kid.
Did you get what was going on, though? Or had you not?
I knew something was wrong, but I didn't foresee the ending. And I did hear about it after I didn't watch it.
Did you see the ghosts and stuff? Like, none of those creeped you out?
Oh, that actually might have been why I lost interest, is because it was a little too freaky for me.
Yeah. All right, so some Sixth Sense and some Shyamalan love. Shyamalan. All right, Shyamalan. All right, for my number 41, as far back in the past as I'm going to go, obviously, for today, being the last pickup today. And Matt, you said about a film being in your list that was a recent watch. This is definitely a recent watch for me, even though it is quite a bit older, from 1954. Recently, we went through and watched a few of the old Alfred Hitchcock films. Still have a bunch to get to. Was not a big fan of one of them, but am a big fan of this one. So my number 41 is going to be Rear Window. So I thought this was far superior than to Vertigo, and I enjoyed Rear Window quite a bit. I was pretty much on the edge of my seat for the whole film. Like I was very much into what was going on and into everything about it. So I think there's some good performances here. I think this is a great example of classic filmmaking, and made me interested in watching more Hitchcock films for sure. So it definitely brought it back up after Vertigo kind of let me down a little bit. So Rear Window, a lot of love. Number 41 on my pick. Amanda, you just recently watched this with me as well. What are your thoughts on it?
No, I've seen that before.
I know you've seen it before, but you also rewatched it then with me on this time. So what do you think of Rear Window?
I'm a fan. I'm not going to put it on my list, but it's something that I, in a college course, had to break down piece by piece. So I have a lot of respect for what was going on, and I think that it was some really good filmmaking for the time. And I haven't seen a ton of Hitchcock stuff, but it's definitely my favorite Hitchcock movie.
All right. Fair enough. Dan, last pickup today. What do you have at your number 41?
I'm going with another comedy, and if I was going to just list, if I was my favorite films on this list based upon how much time I've loved them, this would be near the top, because since I first saw this movie, and I don't know if I saw it in theaters. I know I saw the sequel in theaters, but it's been a huge part of my life. One of probably, especially as a kid who grew up playing baseball a lot, one movie that we quoted a great deal. And it's not that baseball film you're thinking of; it's a different one. It's The Major League from 1989. Nice. It's so much goodness in this. So many great quotes. So many great characters. There's a lot of baseball movies. There's a lot of baseball movies in the 80s, especially. But I think what made Major League different, obviously, was one of the greatest color commentators of all time in the background, of course, adding great quotes. Over a great story, Cleveland being the ultimate losing team, and having them come together. Tom Bergeron, Wesley Snipes, Charlie Sheen, everyone was had their own little arc. And considering how many characters there were, that was pretty impressive, I think. And sequel's not nearly as good, but there's so much to love about Major League. It's very funny. And it's still, I think, a good sports movie too. Outside of that, even if you don't just look at the comedic elements, possibly the greatest sports manager of all time within a movie as well. I mean, that mustache is pretty intense. So I loved it as a kid. I probably watched it when I was far too young, which is odd for me because I was very sheltered as a kid, but for some reason I was able to watch it. And
because it was on TNT, that's why.
It's great. Probably. I didn't have cable as a kid, so that wasn't it. I don't know.
I love Major League. My first draft, when we were trying to come up with this list, my first draft consisted of 300 movies, and that's what I had to pare down to get to 100, and Major League was definitely within that 300. I don't know where it would end up if I was trying to number it out. I have 2 baseball films that I have ahead of it, but I loved Major League growing up, and I still get a kick out of it when I watch it. So I think it was part of a time period where there was some really funny yet not, I don't know, there were some sports movies that came out in the 80s that were just done right for me. It didn't get to the level that we got with trying to be too melodramatic or too cheesy that we got later on in time. So I loved Major League.
Wow, dang.
All right, let's recap our 50 through 41 picks for everybody. Matt, you're first, so run down your 10 picks that you revealed today.
All right, I started off with There Will Be Blood, then Chef, Sherlock Holmes from 2009, V for Vendetta, The Princess Bride, True Grit, Star Trek, specifically Generations, Superman, specifically the Richard Donner era, Ant-Man, and the Indiana Jones franchise.
Amanda, what do you got?
I got 11, though.
11.
So 51 through 41. 51 being Practical Magic, 50 The Cable Guy, 49 The Emperor's New Groove, 48 Total Recall, the Arnold Schwarzenegger one, 47 How the Grinch Stole Christmas, 46 Mystery Men, 45 The Fifth Element, 44 My Cousin Vinny, 43 Face Off, 42 Hocus Pocus, and 41 The Sixth Sense.
All right, my 10 were Dead Poets Society, 50-50, Life is Beautiful, Up, 7, Lethal Weapon, Heat, There Will Be Blood, Life of Pi, and Rear Window. Dan?
At 50, I had Spider-Man 2, then Election, then Grave of Fireflies. 47 was Jaws, then Lost in Translation, The Matrix, and then 44 I had The Wrestler, The Dark Knight, The 40-Year-Old Virgin, and rounding out at number 41 was Major League.
All right, so that's it for our 50 through 41 pick, our first 10 revealed on this side of 50. Next time we'll go through 40 through 31, but we're definitely interested in what you guys are thinking of the countdown so far. Whose list or whose movies taste do you line up with the most? So you can definitely let us know by going to www.geekcastradio.com, finding this episode post, and leaving us a comment. Let us know what you're thinking of the countdown, what you're surprised about, what you're enjoying hearing about. We'd definitely like to interact with you there. We can also interact with you directly through Twitter. The show handle is at Cinema Geekcast. My individual Twitter handle is at Optimus Solo. Amanda, yours is?
At Hard Candy Mandy, Eyes No Eyes.
Dan, your Twitter handle is?
At Movie Revolt.
And Mr. Matt, how can people interact with you?
I am at Fridley Scent
Also, feel free to leave us a review on iTunes. We'd love to get the feedback there. And also let us know what you're thinking of this series as well as the other series. How are you enjoying the Miyazaki Spotlight? How are you enjoying the video game series? And we got a lot more of both of those coming up to you in recent days, recent weeks coming up here. So look forward to that. So that is it for us for this week. Tune in next week for another chance to listen to the Cinema Geeks.